Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for taking the time to attend the PaperCut and Intuitive Dashboards webinar. I am Marie Woodhead, and I will be your host for this session. Just to inform you that this session is being recorded, and you will receive a link to the recording at some point following this webinar. All the telephones are muted, and all questions should be dropped into the questions box on your GoToWebinar screen. I'll cover the questions off at the end of the session. So your team for today, myself, your channel partner, marketing manager. We have Richard King from ITS, who I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, are aware of, and also Catherine and Ellis from Intuitive. And again, I'm sure that some of you will be familiar with these two. And we also have our Konica Minolta category manager here, Philip John. He will be not presenting, but will be available to answer any relevant questions. You were expecting Miles Poley on the invitation from Process Flows, but he was due to be on this session, but unfortunately Miles sends his apology as he's unable to attend today. So unfortunately, you are stuck with me covering his content. So we have a packed agenda for you today, which I'm sure you will find useful. As I mentioned before, I will be providing you with Miles Solutions portfolio update, and also I will cover off the Amazon incentive that we currently have running through Process Flows. Oh, and I just need to point out this is Amazon vouchers and not a trip to the actual Amazon, just in case there's any confusion. I don't want to provide any disappointment at this stage as we move through the presentation. So, but I will cover that off. I will also be covering the Q&A at the end of the session, so don't forget to pop your questions in the question box. So then we have Richard King from Info Technology Supply. He's going to give you an update on the new PaperCut 22MF release. That includes the new sustainability program called Paper Grows. And Paper Grows is really a program that gives customers an easy way to plant more trees, and then than the paper that they consume through printing. You will then look at the refreshed admin and end user interfaces, the CLA connector, and also will provide an Hive update. We will then move to Catherine at Intuitive Business Intelligence, and she will be delivering the tools to help you increase revenue on renewals whilst differentiating your business in new business opportunities. Hopefully you will see the value of the intuitive dashboards for PaperCut MF and for PaperCut Hive alike. They will look at some case studies also, and then you'll get a live demonstration from Ellis. So let's hope the technology gods are with us today. And again, I'll cover off the Q&A. So let's get into it then. So as I said before, I'm going to be covering off Miles's session as he's not here. That Process Flows really has been selling software solutions in the UK for nearly 35 years now, and they are experts in this field. They have a full team of solutions enabled specialists behind them, as well as the pre-sales people that we have that I'm sure you're familiar with within Konica Minolta also. They have been a Konica Minolta company for 6 years now, and when they're providing licenses through this channel, it normally takes around 48 hours and is quicker depending on the vendor. So working with Konica Minolta channels since last month, Process Flows side of the team have kicked off with PaperCut, which is supplied by ITS, and support will be either with Konica Minolta support desk or with ITS directly, and the preference is down to you. So whatever you choose is what will happen. We also have a host of additional products, which you can see listed here. So, and we've got experts in that field as well. We are happy to offer free pre-sales and customer meetings with all our offerings through the Process Flow Solutions setup, and we're happy to be involved or not involved as you require. We have a full installation services and post-sales support on all our offerings, so you've got support to look after your solution sales. So the current incentive available to our partners on the solutions are in way of Amazon vouchers, and I just want to do a little breakdown on here, give you a little bit of clarity on what this means to you in real terms in monetary value. So for registering an opportunity with us, you will receive a £10 Amazon voucher. for an initial appointment, whether it's online or whether it's face-to-face, from the registered opportunity we just spoke about, there will be an additional £50 available. And if you place an order for more than 2,000, which is probably around a 10 license deal of PaperCut and a 3-year maintenance, it's an additional £20. And the rewards grow, as you can see on this chart, as the solution spends grow as well. So the more the deal value is on the solutions, the more rewards you receive. And these are outside of anything that you currently receive. Just for information, we paid out £3,500 in Amazon vouchers only last week, so it's a nice little incentive to have. I'm sure you'll agree the rewards outside of any of the financial benefits are always a benefit with you and the family, and your family. So I think that is it from me on Miles's side. So at this point, I'm going to hand you over to Richard so that he can give you an ITS update.
Thanks, Marie. Morning, everybody.
Morning, Richard.
Good. I'm glad you can hear me. Right. Okay. So park that first slide for now, because I just wanted to paint a picture for you around PaperCut MF and version 22. And you'll note that I call out PaperCut MF as opposed to PaperCut Hive. So in the new world now, since Hive's been launched, we can't just call it PaperCut. We've got to refer to the product name in the PaperCut portfolio. But those of you that have been selling PaperCut MF for a number of years will know that they have a release often policy. So there's a major release once a year and minor releases throughout the year. And typically it's sort of Q1, possibly moving into Q2 of the calendar year when the major release happens. So version 22 has now been released, a general release. But the difference this round is, rather than having a feature within the product, so I'm thinking, job ticketing, mobility print, failover, so these major releases that we've become familiar with each year. This time around, it's a program that's the headline for version 22, and that's PaperCut Grows. So PaperCut Grows is PaperCut's sustainability program that's available with both PaperCut MF and with Hive. There's some other features that have been included within the MF new build. So that's the CLA connector, and then there's been an overhaul of the dashboard, and we can come on to that shortly. But concentrating on PaperCut Grows to start off with, I've grabbed this slide, which I think is quite powerful, this one and the next one, with some statistics there. So I'm going to give you a moment. I'm going to pause for you to read that and just absorb that information. So I think the first thing to note is 2023 clearly is not far away. That's next year. This information has come from IDC. So there's a real call out there for the provider of a solution to be able to incorporate a sustainability program as well. Keep on to the next slide for me, please, Marie. Again, I'm just going to pause and let you read it. So a little bit further away, this information is come from Quocera, but half of respondents say they will be expecting this from their vendor in the foreseeable future. So PaperCut Grows is going to contribute to that conversation that is that's an expectation that will need to take place. Next slide, please, Marie. So what are PaperCut going to do about it, and how are they going to contribute with PaperCut Grows? Nice and simple. they're going to plant a load of trees. So there's been a study from a US university that calls out that on average, a tree can produce 8,333 pages. So to remain forest positive, PaperCut are going to plant a tree for every 8,000 pages printed. Now, Marie, maybe if you can go on to the next slide for me. So this is going to be purchased up front or in bundles throughout the contract. And there's an associated cost which works out at 87 pence per device per month. And the expectation is that will align to the maintenance and support length that's within the PaperCut, Hive or MF solution. You'll be given a choice as to where the trees are planted. So there's 12 different locations globally across 5 different continents, and there's a choice of where you feel that would be of the most benefit. And if you feel that, or if the end user feels with your assistance that they're going over the average per month of the output expected from a device, they can add further bundles to make sure that they always remain forest positive. There'll also be a widget to be able to track both the usage and the planting as well. And then there's an online poll that can be released for staff to decide on what location should be used for the planting of the trees. In the PaperCut portal, loads more information about PaperCut Grows. There's some great videos in there, and there's some supporting documentation, which clearly I'd encourage you to go and have a look at. But yes, that's the headline for version 22 PaperCut Grows. Next slide, please, Marie. Visually impactful. One of the changes is in both the user dashboard and the web admin dashboard, that the images have now been updated and become a little bit more refreshed. So you'll see that on the home page, but also on the bar that runs along the top when a sys administrator logs into the MF web admin dashboard. There's also a banner that's going to appear that will notify sysadmin of when their M&S is due to expire. So a clock ticks down with 3 months to go, notifying them that the M&S is to expire. In true PaperCut standard form, though, the product is not time bombed. Nothing's going to happen. If the M&S isn't renewed, they will continue to be able to use PaperCut. It's just another way of getting that information across to the end user that they're due to renew their maintenance. Very recently as well, just to draw to your attention, if you've already took it upon yourself to install version 22, I would encourage you to go back into the portal. There's been a small maintenance release, version 22.0.3. But what that now includes is, with the tabs along the side, the information for support and sales used to be in the About tab. On 22.0.3, that information now has its own tab. So there's a Help tab that has the supplier, the reseller's contact information. So when a sys administrator from the end user logs in and they either want to raise a support ticket or they want to add to their existing PaperCut license, it's going to display the reseller's details there for them to contact direct, rather than PaperCut, rather than ITS. So it's a lot more easier to go and grab that information. Next slide, please, Marie. Calling out anybody that sells into the education sector, you'll be familiar with these yellow boxes that are situated next to an MFD, and the CLA, the Copyright Licensing Agency, randomly call upon a school to capture the information from copying and scanning. So these yellow boxes sit there, and the expectation is that when I've gone and done some copying, I fill a bit of paper in, and then I insert it into this yellow box. The CLA people, representatives, will go and this information, and then they go and distribute the royalties to the IPR, so the intellectual property rights of the information that's been copied or scanned. You can already see that's a bit of a, an old-fashioned sort of 1990s type approach, with yellow letter boxes and people expected to fill bits of paper in. So PaperCut's now incorporated CLA connector. It's included free of charge. It's supported in version 22 and above. And now what will happen, as you can see from the slide, is if I do some copying or if I do some scanning, I'm going to be prompted to include that information, and then that information is captured and then can be shared with the CLA agency. So it's a lot more efficient and a lot more slick, but also it just gives you another talk track and another conversation with anybody in education as to why PaperCut should be their print management of choice. So it's always worth asking the question whether they're being audited by the CLA agency. A whistle-stop tour there of version 22. I think that's me done. Onto the next slide, and then we're handing over to Catherine. Yeah.
Thanks, Richard. That was great. Hi, everybody. My name's Catherine Kennedy from Intuitive. It's really nice to meet you, even though it's just virtually. So I'm just going to take you through a few slides to tell you a little bit about the Intuitive Dashboards offering, and then I'm going to hand over to my colleague Ellis to give you a short demonstration as well. So in a nutshell, the dashboards that we have developed provide you with print management analytics for PaperCut. So it's a very simple BI dashboard add-on that can be sold alongside PaperCut. The solution's both pre-integrated and really simple to install, so you can get up and running, get customers up and running within less than half a day with a full suite of dashboards that are pre-built and just ready to run alongside PaperCut data. So the dashboards will install for PaperCut MF on the same server, so there's no additional server requirement. And out of the box, you get a set of 8 different dashboards. And like I said, Ellis will give you a flavour of that in a few moments. We also have developed a suite of PaperCut Hive dashboards as well. We think this is great because the reporting within PaperCut Hive is quite limited. There's a PaperCut Hive connector that's available from the PaperCut portal page, and then there's a series of a set of 4 dashboards rather that just work alongside the PaperCut Hive data once you've got that connector set up and downloading the data out. Next slide, please, Marie. So why did we develop the dashboards? Well, we're very conscious that most customers are looking at managing print costs in what is a really changing environment, both with environmental pressures, hybrid working, and general reduction in print. I think organisations are really looking to manage the volume of what they're printing, make sure that they're doing the most cost-effective printing possible, and also that their estate is properly optimised for their needs going forwards. They're also looking to have a really good visibility of what users are printing, particularly with hybrid working. So there's obviously some security concerns around what people are printing and where. There's also the fact of the matter that for many organisations, just just actually running through the PaperCut reports, getting the data that you need, putting it into a spreadsheet, putting it into a PowerPoint to make it look good, just takes time every month, and we can basically remove all of that from the process. And we're seeing more and more as well that organisations have environmental targets to meet. So again, providing visibility of what people are printing, making them aware of that, can really help too. Thanks, Marie. So our ideal customer is somebody that's already using PaperCut or is looking to use PaperCut. So our solution is very much something that would be embedded with either a PaperCut renewal or with a new business opportunity. Now, with PaperCut MF, we would typically say our sweet spot is really usually somebody who's got 5 or more MFD devices, just because if you've maybe only got 1 or 2, maybe you don't need the granularity of detail, and you're not quite so focused on managing the print estate as you are with a bigger one. Having said that, now with PaperCut Hive, obviously, and the solution there, then actually that can be applicable to any size of organisation. What we find with our really top performing partners and resellers is that we can get something up to 60% attach rate where we're looking at PaperCut renewals, and it's also something that can really help to differentiate on new business sales for PaperCut as well. Thanks, Marie. So the dashboards, as well as providing that visualization of your data from PaperCut and helping you to address those end customer pain points, actually we feel that there's another added layer of customer value which could be of really good value and interest to you all. So we tend to find that our best partners sell the dashboards as part of their normal customer engagement, like I said, as a renewal or as part of a new business proposal. But actually, if you work alongside your customers as part of your service offering to look at analysing the data, and particularly thinking about looking at scan and copy data, then what we're finding is that actually that can provide some fantastic opportunities to innovate and provide new solutions to your customers, particularly around things like document management and workflow solutions. So if you can identify those peaks and troughs in scanning usage and in very manual paper-based processes, then those can be absolutely fantastic opportunities for digital transformation. I'm going to come back to that a bit later on in the presentation and give you some examples and use cases that really illustrate that point. But I thought at this point it would make sense for me to hand over to Ellis just to give you a short demonstration of the dashboards in case you haven't had a chance to see them already.
Thank you very much, Catherine. So hopefully everyone can see my screen now. Let's put into full screen mode. So this is what you're looking at now, is our version for PaperCut MF. So as Catherine said, we've got 6 main dashboards that come out of the box and also 2 summary dashboards as well. You can see here that we've also got a QR code on the menu, and this is actually a link to a YouTube video that tells the customer how to use each dashboard screen that they're on. So there's a different video for each of the 8 dashboard screens, and it just tells them where to go within the data to find what they're looking for. So the way Intuitive works is we've got a number of different components on each screen, which are these boxes here. And kind of the unique selling point of Intuitive is everything is what we call drill downable. So you can look into each piece of data and view it in a bit more detail. So for example, when a customer logs in, they come straight into this summary page here. So this is just a quick snapshot of their organization's printing. So you've got your top 20 users and your top 20 printers, and everything in here you can just click into and view in a bit more detail. So for example, our biggest user is Wade Douglas in this customer. So we just click into his name and it'll take us through to his unique user profile. So this is all of his print jobs over the last 30 days. So you can see which department he's in, which shared account he's using, the date he's printed those documents, and then we can start to really analyze in a bit more detail. So if we double tap on the header up here, we can see how many times that's been, the biggest documents that have been printed by Wade, or we can actually come over to our filters over here and start to look at maybe just look at the colour print jobs that he's printed and apply those filters and start to look at it in more detail. So the main dashboard that gets used by customers is this cost dashboard here. So you can see here that it's grouped by departments. So we've got our department name, the cost of overall of that department, the colours percentage threshold of that department, and also the average user cost. So this is set up as departments. If you go down here, we can actually see we've got all of our different PaperCut shared accounts. So it can be set up in that way if the customer requires. Or for example, if it's a school trust with maybe 3 or 4 locations, it can be set up as locations as well. So the way you control this dashboard is it's all controlled by the master component. So you can see up here in the left-hand side that this component is currently the master. So that just means wherever we click in that component, it'll change the whole dashboard for that piece of information. So if we click into R&D, we can see straight away the whole dashboard is filtered just for that department. And now that our average user cost, the number of users have changed for this department. So to view the next level of information, we're going to want to click into average user cost. So we'll just click into that component, and then, as I said, it'll take you to another dashboard screen and it'll show that piece of information in a bit more detail. So this brings us to the user analysis dashboard. So you can see here we've got our trend over time in terms of cost of mono and colour printing. So we can start to see if there's any peaks in the printing cycle. We can also start to analyse by different extension types. So we can look at all the PDF documents, all the Word documents, or spreadsheets, for example. And then down here we've got all of our top users already pre-filtered for the R&D department. You can see which office they're based at, and then we've got their cost of their printing. So from here we can start to analyse in a bit more detail. So if we might want to just look at cost, or we might want to look at colour percentage. So we can look at all the biggest users in terms of colour percentage, or even actual volumes as well. So I'll just change that back to cost. So another way you can attack it is by looking at a specific time period. So you can see down here we've got our filter for months. So say they just wanted to look at the first quarter of 2022, we could select those 3 months of 2022 and then apply the filter. So now you can see that the trend has changed just for those 3 months, and we are still pre-filtered for R&D, and now we can see our biggest users for that time period. And again, as the same with the summary page, you just click into a user and it'll take you through to their user profile to view all of their information. So next, I'm just going to quickly flick through the volume and the printer page. I'm not going to go in too much detail for this one, but this is really simple. You can see the percentage change of volumes from last year to this year. So you can start to see if the customer has reduced their printing. So you can see this customer has reduced their printing by 33%, and they've reduced colour by 34%. And what the customer can do is just quickly flip through different departments and start to see, are they up with the company average, or are they underperforming? So you can see that the finance department have reduced their printing by 29%, and they've reduced colour by 27%. So that's just a really quick summary of the volume page. This is the printer page, which is quite in depth. So you can see this is quite a large customer with a number of different MFD types spread across several different locations. So the way this works is you can either look at a specific device type, or we can look at a specific location if it's a big customer. So for example, I'll just click into location 9, and it'll show all of the devices for this location. And we've actually calculated the average number of pages printed at this location. And you can start to see the variance of, is it performing above the average, or is it within the average, or is it, has it not printed any documents at all? Then we'll have a look at the scan page. So again, this is all grouped by departments. You can see a trend of scan usage over time. And then when this loads up, you'll be able to see all the users and all of their scan jobs over the last year or so. So you can see these are all of our users. You can see which devices they've used and how many pages they've scanned. So the way I always look at this page is you can actually see that there's a massive peak within the scan usage in this particular month. So the way you want to use the dashboards is you want to see what's happened in that month that's caused this huge peak in scanning. So if we just go up to the cog icon, and then we'll make this component the master, which just means it controls the whole dashboard. And then if we click into this month, it'll filter just by this month in particular. And you can see straight away we've answered who's responsible for this peak in usage, and it's the HR department. And then you can start to look at it, who's actually been scanning in this department. So we can add a filter for HR. And we can see that they've scanned 24,000 pages in this month alone. And we can see all of the different users. And can click into a specific user and see all of their scan jobs as well. So this is really useful for if you actually went into a customer and started to analyze that data in spotting scan processes. So if there's a particular peak in scan usage, there's usually a process that's happening there that could be automated. So this could just spark a conversation with the customer to go and look at the HR department in more detail to potentially spot somewhere where a solution could be implemented. So lastly, we've got these two summary pages, which are just really nice, quick pages for the customer just to view their data in comparison from last year to this year. So you can see here, we can look at the cost from last year to this year, the number of colour pages and the overall volumes as well. And we can also click into the cost last year. We can start to view it by department. So we can analyse how they reduced their costs in comparison to the last year. And then in a really similar concept, we've got a page for environmental data as well. So this time it's a comparison between last year and this year, but this time for CO2 usage, electricity used, and also trees consumed. And again, you can start to look at it by departments or shared accounts. So you can see if they reduced their trees or their CO2 usage over the last year. So one thing I'm just going to show you quickly is how the data can be aggregated depending on who's logging in. So all of the Intuitive licenses come with 25 viewer licenses as standard, so the customer can distribute it across their whole organization. So just quickly, we've got this this user here. So if I log into their page, we can see that the data has been aggregated as they are a finance user. So they've got the same dashboard screens, but this time they can only view the data that's in the finance department. So if you go to the cost dashboard, we can see that we've just got a finance department. So all the data can be aggregated depending on what the customer wants to see and what they want their users to see. So thank you for listening. I'll hand back to Catherine.
That's great. Thanks very much, Alice. Please do put questions in the chat if you've got any queries on that in terms of the demonstration. We can do more in-depth demonstrations as well on a one-to-one basis if there's something specific that you want to look at. But thanks very much, Alice. So I'm just going to talk through a few use cases to really illustrate some of the benefits of actually getting this software implemented and up and running with customers. So the first use case is with a higher education college. They told us when we went in, so we did this whole process alongside a partner of ours of implementing the dashboards and then actually going back in after a couple of months when they'd been up and running and looking at the data. So they told us that they weren't doing any scanning. and they'd really put the dashboards in to give them a visibility of what was happening across the whole of the college. What we found is that actually they were doing over 30,000 scans a year that they just weren't aware of as an organisation. So that gave our partner the chance to really dig down into the customer, understand what's being scanned, where is it being backed up, what process it relates to, and leading on from that, the partner of ours has actually been given the opportunity to upsell a whole digital workflow solution, because they'd identified, that there was this huge scanning volume going on, and it was very paper-based and time consuming and costly. The next use case we have is a legal services business. They'd invested in a high-end print room to do large print jobs, but actually by implementing the dashboards, they were able to see that users in the business were still sending some of these large print jobs out onto local printers, which was just not what the investment was intended to achieve. So what they did was identified, using the dashboards, they were able to see exactly where the demand was coming from, which users, which departments, and they implemented the PaperCut job ticketing feature, which actually allowed for all of those large professional print jobs to be routed through to the appropriate printer at a much better cost and also quality too. Leading on from that, as part of their account development, they were then able to actually go in with the customer and look at an ECM solution to see whether actually this content could be delivered electronically out to customers as well, rather than being printed. So again, a great opportunity using the dashboards in one way, but actually growing out into other sales opportunities within the customer as well. And then the final case study that I wanted to talk to you about is a local government one. So again, the dashboards have been implemented in this local council. All of the data was being broken down, a bit like Ellis just showed you in the demonstration, by department. They were then taking that data and manually converting it into cost centres, which were actually different from the departmental setup that they had. Then that was being manually uploaded into their finance system to allow for the cross-charging to take place between the different cost centres based on their print usage. So what we did simply was, within the dashboards, as well as setting up the filtering by departments, you can actually also set it up to filter by the PaperCut shared accounts, which is exactly what was done. Then the data could be viewed in the right way, looking at the different cost centres, and actually what we've done since then with the partner is set up an automatic transfer of that data into the finance system to allow for that cross-charging to take place. So that was a great win, but the even bigger win was the local government. The council had a whole digital transformation team who were particularly being tasked with finding opportunities for transformation across the organisation. Having seen what our partner was doing in this area, they actually got an engagement with that whole digital transformation team and opened up a whole other area of business opportunities for themselves as well. And that's all just by implementing a really simple dashboard solution, but working with the customer to properly understand what the data is showing and work through that with them as well. Thanks, Marie. So that's really all we plan to share with you in terms of the intuitive dashboards. I hope we've been able to show you that it is a BI solution that's specifically designed for print. It's completely integrated into PaperCut. We think it's a really easy to sell and easy add-on. What we tend to find is we show this to customers and straight away they get it. It's not difficult to show and demonstrate. It's not difficult to get that buy-in. And then also once the decision's been made to go ahead, it's a very quick installer process. So again, really straightforward, sits on the same server as your PaperCut. Just a really easy module to bundle in and add into both renewals and also to new business opportunities as well. But I think more importantly is, yes, it's a nice add-on module, which is great, some extra margin and a bit more in the deal, and a way to re-engage with customers, but really opening up those new revenue streams through looking and exploring the data, looking at what's happening with print, scan and copy across the customer's organisation, and helping them work through some of those digital transformation projects that they might have. In terms of next steps, we have a full partner portal. You are very welcome to sign up for that if you put your request in via either the Konica team or Director Rich King. You can do both sales and technical certification. There's some very short online courses. They take between half an hour to an hour to get yourself properly skilled up. Also in the portal, we have a wide range of sales, marketing and technical resources. So that's things from standard out-of-the-box sales presentations, competitor guides, marketing resources, social media posts, brochures, flyers, you name it, it's in there. Also all the technical resources you need, the actual software itself. So please do sign up and go and have a look at our partner portal and get yourself a bit more trained up. And then I would really, the two, I think, areas really to suggest you look at initially is if you're already selling PaperCut, then definitely look at your PaperCut renewals that you've got coming up. And again, we can help you through working with Richard, looking at actually what renewals you've got coming up and maybe targeting some of those bigger ones in there for adding the intuitive dashboards alongside. And then also, if you do have new business opportunities, we do have a 40-day trial license. So you're more than welcome to offer that to businesses and, you know, give them a try before you buy opportunity. If you have existing customers that are coming up for renewal or out to tender, we can offer extended trial periods as well. It might be that you want somebody to try it for the last couple of months before the renewal and then include it in the process. So please come and chat to Richard, ourselves, the guys at Konica Process Flows, with, you know, with any support you need on any of those areas. I think now I'm handing back to Marie. Thank you very much for your attention. There's our website. If you want to come and discover a little bit more, please do. But like I say, you know, maybe first step is get yourself signed up for our portal if you haven't already. Thanks, Marie. I'll hand back to you.
Oh, I think we left a voice in there. Thank you, Catherine. Thanks, Ellis. Thank you, Richard. And thanks, Phil, for getting on. We've got a couple of questions. If you've got any more questions, please drop them into the questions box now. But the first question that we have, I think, is for you, Catherine, if that's okay. And it's how much do the dashboards typically cost?
Okay, so that's a great question. We basically mirror the way that PaperCut does their licensing. So all of our prices are per device, per embedded device. The software list price starts at around £25 per device per year. It comes down quite dramatically if you commit to more, obviously, than one device, but also if you commit to more than 1 year as well. But that's the sort of ballpark, £25 per device per year. So.
Brilliant, thank you. The second one I have is, I think you might have covered this on the case studies, but is there any particular verticals of the dashboards targeted at, and where does it not work?
Okay, so we've had a lot of success in public sector, but we're also starting to see private sector really sort of, I guess, come back to life a bit since COVID. So obviously the last couple of years, maybe things haven't been quite normal in terms of business. So whereas, you know, obviously the public sector kept going through all of that. So the solution really isn't vertical specific at all. It's very much, if you've got a large volume of printers and print data and you want to make sense of that and visualize it, then you know, it's really applicable to any sector. So yeah, we've got some good case studies and some success stories in public sector, but it's equally applicable to private. You know, we talked about that legal services firm in the use cases, so very much appropriate for both, really.
Fabulous, thank you for that. And we have another question, which is, if I want access to the portal, can I get that through my partner manager? I think that's what it said. Yep, partner manager. So the KM team that look after.
Yes,
partners.
Absolutely. So yeah, we have a partner request form. So go to your first contact, and if they can't get you signed up, then they'll come to us and we'll get you sorted really quickly. So yeah, go to your usual account manager contact first to get that requested, or alternatively you can speak to Richard King, because they handle all of those requests coming in for us as well.
Fabulous. So an easy channel in, that's great news.
Yeah.
I think unless there's any more questions, and it doesn't look like there are, just bear with me a second, is there one here? I would be interested in a further discussion around trust-wide solutions in education. Is one of the questions in there, but I'm not sure. We'll get the partner manager. If you can, whoever that question's from, if you want to get in touch with your partner manager, that'll be fantastic, and they can make sure they set that up.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit of work in education, and it works really well within those sort of trust-wide settings where actually you've got top level view for the whole trust, and then you've got, you know, the view filtered a bit like Ellis showed, where you've got individual heads of department in schools or head, you know, principals can actually see the data just for their school or their area. So it's a brilliant example of where it works really well. So definitely follow up with your partner manager, and we can always support on that if you want a bit more in-depth support from us.
All right, actually the window for the questions is very small. It says, I'd be interested in a further conversation around trust-wide solutions in education. That's what the actual question says. That's fine. That's I think you've answered that, Catherine. Thank you very much. I don't think there's any more questions, which means that we can give you about 10 or 15 minutes back. So that only just leaves me time to say thank you once again, all our partners, for your continued support. Your business is very important to us, and we understand it's been challenging times, and we do appreciate it. Thanks for getting the time to get on these webinars. That is also appreciated, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Presenters and non-visible presenters, thank you ever so much, and I wish you a fantastic day.